We're live. Hey everyone, we're getting ready. We got 2 minutes and get set up. I'm in a little different setting, as you'll notice, but that's okay. We're gonna be awesome no matter what. So get your hydration, and we'll be starting right at the top of the hour. And I have my watch on so that we know what that top of the hour is. But get your mat. I have this one again. I'm not in my usual setup, but that's okay. So yeah, we're going to get started at the top of the hour. And yes, we are going to start with our lovely positive quotient repetitions or PQ reps. And we got 1 minute, 1 full minute. So get what you need. We're going to be up and down, so I'm going to be switching my view. So be aware of that. I have as much light as I could possibly get and find, but it is what it is. So we're going to do our best. As long as you can hear me, that's what matters the most. As long as you can hear me. We got 30 seconds, so get ready. And we'll be going very soon here. And yeah, it's going to be fun. And it will be helpful if you at least have a yoga mat, only because you want to be steady. And we are just about ready. Countdown time. Get everything you need. 10, 9, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Cathy, your wellness coach, my fellow female activists. We are back for our monthly yoga flow, live yoga flow or clinic. Today it's a clinic. Okay, so it is 2026. It's already in full blown and it's been crazy. And so we are going to step back and I want to talk about today. It's all about mobility, okay, and stability. So our peak pose, if you want to call it that, we're going to it's not a yoga flow. We're going to be starting with our PQ reps, but then we're going to move into what are basically mobility drills. And then we'll be using stability, okay, drills. But this is all, again, with the assumption that hopefully you want to, learn yoga. But even if you don't want to learn yoga, these are wonderful tips for just to use your body in general. So we will start with our PQ reps. So wherever you're at, you can be laying down, you can be sitting, you can be standing, doesn't matter. If you feel safe, you can close your eyes. But what I want you to do, and I will close mine, I want you to think about a nice tall spine. So think about grounding yourself so that you grow your tall spine. And what you're going to do is you're going to take and make sure you roll your shoulders back. But I want you to take your hand, one of them, and put them on your tummy. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to notice your breath. That's it. You're not changing it. You're just simply noticing. What sensations do you feel? What's moving your hand? Now, go ahead, take your hand down from your abdomen. And this time, if you're able, please listen and concentrate, not too heavily, but listen to the furthest sound you can hear. It could be something outside, it could be something close to you, but of the furthest away sound you can hear. And now, listen to the closest sound you can hear. And now, bow your head down, and if your eyes are closed, go ahead and blink them open. come back. Those, my friends, are positive quotient repetitions or PQ reps. It is a way to drop once again into your body. We always want to be connected. Our minds often go in all kinds of directions, and we want to reconnect to our body because that's how we stay grounded. That's how our nervous system returns to a state of calm. All right, so now that we've done that, we are going to, and this is going to be hopefully maybe up to 45 minutes or so, could go to 50, but if it's shorter than that, that's awesome. But you never know. So we're here and we're going to love it. So again, this is about mobility. Okay, so the original clinic that I did last January when I started this whole wellness playlist will be, well, this isn't the wellness playlist, but nonetheless, with the channels, wellness and recommendations on wellness and self care. It all started last January, so it's been a year. And there's a full blown clinic, okay, last January about mobility. So check that out, okay? And I might even connect it later, but more important, these are going to be really quick and easy type of drills that you can perform, okay, in your everyday busy life. All right. So, what I do want to do though is review why we're even thinking about mobility. So, in yoga, okay, because again, remember, if it's not a clinic, I'm putting together yoga flows, right, once a month. And maybe I'll probably be maybe upping the ante and adding more yoga flows. So I keep my certification with Yoga Alliance. In any case, I want to review in yoga. Okay, there are certain parts of our body that we use, right, quite often, quite literally, all the time. And if you're able, right? And so I want to renew your I want you to recall why these drills, these mobility drills are so important. So I'm going to stand, and you may not see my head, and it's okay. We're going to make it work. All right, so you don't see my feet, unfortunately, but that's okay. So what I want you to think about, okay, we're going to go from our feet and then work our way up. I want to review joints that are really important, in particular for yoga. So you can't see it, but our ankles, okay? So the ankles, right, they're very important because they connect the feet to the legs, right? But they take on a lot of stress, right? Normally just standing. But in poses, right, we want to be very sure that our ankles, okay, are always in alignment with what's next, our knees, okay? So the knees, very important. They take on a lot of stress. Then our hips are extremely important. So what I want you to do is take your two fists and push them together, okay, in front of each other. Then very carefully, if you're following me, come down and then put them between your 2 feet, okay? Those, my friends, are the approximate location of your hip joints. Why is that important? Because your hip joints are not here. The hip joints are the ball and socket, okay? So when we're in yoga, you want to keep an untraditional stance, specifically for women. We want, or I should say females, our pelvis is wider than a male pelvis. And so having our feet in a traditional, and I'm putting my big toes together with that space in between the heels, that's not great. That's not awesome for female parts. But the hip width is always going to be advantageous, okay? We can get away from the whole traditionalism of yoga. We want to experience the benefits of yoga, right? And not with all the other stuff necessarily attached to it. Then from the hips, then we work to our shoulders. Our shoulders are super important, okay? We want mobility, okay, in our shoulders for as long as possible because that is how we can really move very well in space. Then we have our elbows. People forget our elbows, but they are super cool, okay? But we need them, right, to be working because a lot can happen if we don't have our elbows working in the best possible way. And then finally, our wrist. Wrists are extremely important, okay, because we are bearing weight. Your wrists are used to being, not on the floor, right? Our feet are used to being on the floor. But our wrists take on a lot of extra heat, so to speak, when we're in yoga poses. And so we want to be cognizant of that. We want to always be thinking about how can we support our wrist, okay? So now that we reviewed the joints that help make yoga fun, okay, now we're actually going to start the drills. So um, you can take a seat. You can be standing. Okay, like I said, you can follow me or you can take part. Doesn't matter when you're watching this after when the replay happens, whatever you wish. But what I ask, okay, is that you always take this in mind, and I'll keep repeating it. You can utilize these drills whenever you want. It doesn't have to be because you're warming up for yoga or just in your movement practice. It can be for any reason. Maybe you are binging on Netflix, right? Use these drills to keep your mobility because then you're helping your circulation. So we're going to start with mobility drills, and then again, the peak, so to speak, drills will be at the end when we're more warmed up. So we're going to do something very easy, and I think you can see my feet. I have black socks on, so that might be a little harder, but we're going to start with just wrist rolls and ankle rolls. So if you so choose, and you probably can hear that, it is okay if you are hearing cracks, okay, and pops. That is quite normal. Why is that happening? Because there's fluid, okay, in obviously our joints, i.e., there is fluid right in your bones. And when it's been settled and it hasn't moved, well, quite honestly, when you start moving it, you have air pockets, and it's those air pockets that you're hearing pop. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, these are simple drills. Okay, that you may already take part in. You know, when you're feeling stiff after being too long in front of a device of some sort. Maybe you had a long hike. Okay, if you're able, and now your ankles are pretty feeling it, right? Ankle circles, wrist circles, so easy, but very beneficial, okay, and very, very accessible. Okay, so don't ever underestimate any type of movement because it all matters. It all makes a difference. So again, something very simple. You might thinking, well, this is like super easy. Like I could have done this on my own. Yes, that's the point. We forget too often, okay, that it's simplicity that can bring about the most change. It has nothing to do with making everything so hard that you don't want to participate, right? So wrist and ankle circles, very simple, something you can perform right when you wake up or right before you go to bed. It's all good. You can use these whenever. Okay. Then what I love are what I like to call hand and shoulders, hand and shoulder warmers. So our shoulders, especially in yoga, take on quite the beating. Okay, and it's just something that our shoulders have so much mobility, right? That it is actually hard in some cases to keep them stable. But we always want to warm up our shoulders. Now, this can be performed again. Maybe you've been sitting too long, right, at your job. Hi there, who's over there? What you want to do is always remember that at any time, especially if you have trackers, right, that's telling you to move, you want to say, hey, this is important. I can perform this really hand to shoulder drill really quick. So what you're going to do, if you're able, is you're going to take your fingertips and you're going to put them on either shoulder, okay, on the same size shoulder. And your elbows are going to be straight out. You don't want them too high, but they're just going to be nice and right there. And if you haven't noticed my asymmetry, yes, I have scoliosis. So then you're always going to, the hardest part is keeping your fingers on your shoulders. And if this is all you can do, guess what? That's okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to be bringing your elbows together. And again, if this is the most you can get, guess what? That's enough. So go ahead. Now, the idea is to come and bring the fingers together. So I'm going to turn so they can see. So now my the back of my hands are together, okay? That's the purpose. We're trying to make kind of like a round, okay? You want your shoulders to be warming up. And so that's gonna start warming up your biceps too. And yes, we want to go the other way. And I didn't do that for the ankles, but you want to go both ways, right? Every time you go one way, you got to go the other. So now we're going to go backwards. So we're going to have our hands in the back. Then we're going to go with the elbows in the front. Hands in the back, elbows in the front. And yeah, you should be feeling this. It should feel like your biceps are working. Like you should feel it right here and the ends of your shoulders. Why? Because your shoulders are working. That's a really neat way to release the tension in your shoulders. And you might actually perform it while you're in a yoga practice. That's okay. It's a way to loosen up your shoulders. And yeah, I mean, you have the original like, oh, roll up your shoulders to your ears. Yeah, that's awesome. But this is another way to gain mobility because you're purposely pulling out your elbows. Okay, so that's a good one. So there we go. I love those. These are super simple. You can utilize these whenever you want. All right. And then now we're going to work on the hips. If you are not already aware, your hips are where you store emotions. Okay. And right now, all of us have some really, really heavy emotions. And what I always want to bring to the table here is, again, how you can help yourself, okay, without external means. Everything you could, possibly require to stay healthy is inside of you, okay? Yes, we require nourishment, we require liquid, i.e., water, but what I'm getting at is when it comes to our nervous system, how we project, okay, our emotions, how we prepare our nervous system is how we're going to experience life. And this is what this clinic is all about. Is like, how can I take little tips and turn those into a way that my nervous system is always going to be regulated as best as possible. So now, again, we're going to work on our hips and warm up our legs in a way. So we're going to work on windshield wipers. So I think I need to move further back so you can see my feet. And I wore black socks. I forgot that that where I'm at right now, it's a black mat, but that's okay. So it's okay that I'm wearing socks because they have those cool little rubber parts on the bottom there. But anyway, usually don't wear socks unless they're yoga socks. So here we go. We're going to windshield wipe to warm up our hips, but also the rest of our legs. And again, you can perform this in bed before you go to sleep. Maybe when you're waking up, before you take a shower, whatever. It's a wonderful way just to let your body feel a little bit more fluid, so to speak. So the trip to the windshield wipers, okay, and I know you've all done this before at some point in your life if you're able. Your feet get to stay on the floor, all right? They don't lift off, okay? They're going to be on the edges, but they're always going to be on the floor, okay? So your hands are in the back of you, okay? And they can be behind, pointing backwards, behind you, whatever feels good for you. And then you're going to have them probably a little more than hip width, and that's okay. But now you're going to go to the right side, all right? So you're going to always keeping your feet on the mat. In fact, you can make them the width if you're on a mat, make them the width, and then bring the idea. If you can get the left knee down, wonderful, but it does not have to touch the floor. Again, I'm hypermobile, so it doesn't take much for me to get somewhere. Your right knee may or may not touch the floor. That's not the point. It's your feet that matter. You're always keeping your feet on the bottom, on the floor. But we're stretching. You should feel a little stretch, right? And now we're going to slowly reset the hips. And I'm going to come this way. And again, the point is not to get the right knee onto the floor, and even the left knee. It's where you're feeling this stretch, all right here. And this is what feels good for you, okay? And you stay here as long as you like, right? And now, one more time. But remember, see, my feet lifted, but I wasn't moving. You always want your feet on that's the whole point. So when we start going a little faster, which we're gonna do, the feet stay on the floor. So again, it's the edges of your feet that get to stay on the floor. Okay? And this should feel hopefully tantalizing to you. It feels remarkable to me. And I don't suggest you go too fast, but you can speed it up. Okay? And just be keeping mindfulness about the feet, okay, that they're not lifting. All right? So one more time. Okay. So that felt awesome, I hope. Now we're going to actually go into 90-90s. So your feet, where they are, it might be a little too wide, but we were already technically in a 90-90, but now we're going to be very, very thoughtful about that. So we're going to bring our legs into 90-90. So I'm trying to make sure you can see me. Okay. So the front, and I don't want you pulling on this front knee at all. If it needs to move, you take your hand away and then you put the foot where it needs to be. But we are literally in 90-90. So your right knee, okay, is at a bend, 90-degree bend to your ankle, right? And then if this is accessible to you, right, you can have your left foot behind closer to your bum, if that's better for you, or you can have it at that 90, okay? So the hip is aligned with the knee, and the knee is aligned with the ankle. So we're in a 90-90. This is wonderful because it's taking your hips forward, okay, on the left side, but it's also, hopefully, your right hip is down, okay, behind me. So we're going to stand up tall, all right? And then we're going to take our left hand, put it just above the knee on the right, and then take your right hand and then put it behind you. And you can tend to put it down, whichever is more comfortable. Then you're going to be tall, okay, get tall, inhale, and then you're going to turn toward. And it doesn't matter how far you go, that's not the point. Make sure your feet are flexed. All we're trying to do is get a little twist in there. And again, you can perform this in bed, and it's a wonderful way to either wind down or to think about once you're getting ready to start the day or your waking hours. Okay, inhale, and then exhale back. Okay. Now, we're going to go a little bit that way. So we're still in 90-90, but we're going to get tall again. Okay, tall. And then we're going to come over that right so that we should be feeling a little stretch. And again, these are mobility drills. Yeah, you can also say that they're stretches, but they're mobility drills. So you're trying your best to bring elongation, okay, from your hips all the way down, okay? I just don't have enough room to keep going further, but if you want, you can, okay? And come back up. All right, so we're still in 90-90. Now we're gonna go to the other side. So very carefully, and this is a good time to start thinking about stability. So we're not gonna use our hands. If you don't feel safe, use your hand. But we're gonna have our hands up, okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're simply going to sit neutral, and then we're gonna come into the left side. And I did put my hands down, so I need to get into the middle position. Okay, so now we're on the left side. So you should be sitting literally on, the left side. Your hip should be down. Now it is our left knee, right? That's perpendicular or directly with proportion to our ankle. Feet are flexed. And then the same, we want, again, you can have your right foot closer to your bum, to your right cheek, butt cheek. That's it, easier for you, but this is the 90-90. So hip in alignment with the knee in alignment with the ankle, and your feet are flexed. So now we're on the left side. Now again, your hips, we're warming up the hips and the legs too, right? So we're going to stand tall, okay? We're going to take the right hand now, put it just over okay, at the top of the left knee. Your left hand is going to be somewhere behind you, tented or on the, it doesn't matter, on the flatness. But you're going to stand tall, inhale, and then you're going to turn ever so slightly. And what that's doing is that it's forcing that right hip forward, okay? But that's what you want because you want to feel a nice stretch. And you really want to feel that elongation. The twist is coming from your low back. It's not coming necessarily from torquing the top of you. The hand is there to give you leverage, but it's actually that twist is coming from your lower back, and that's what we want. And then inhale and exhale. Inhale and then come back. Okay, so now what we did on one side, we get to do on the other. So we are going to stand tall or sit tall, right? Inhale, and then we're going to come forward. Now I have a little bit more room now, so I can, kind of stretch it out. Whatever feels comfortable for you. But again, what we're trying to do, we're not trying to get to the floor. We're not trying to, get a PR of how low can I get? And no, we want to feel elongation. We want to feel like we're giving ourselves like a little, I like how Jen Pike puts it, we're flossing. And you'll notice the flossing part very soon here. But we're giving our joints much needed fluid, okay? This is how we create longevity with our joints. Okay, go ahead and come up slowly. Okay, so these are 90-90s. And now we can even go faster. And this is where we're going to test out our stability. So you don't have to try this if you don't want. You can have your hands on the, on the ground. But we're going to go back into the right side in a 90-90. Our hands are up if you so choose. And then we're going to start basically a windshield wiper. But because momentum takes us forward, I have to start way back here. So we're staying in the 90-90, okay? But watch what happens. So with or without your hands, you can have your hands behind you. And they can be, facing forward. But here we go. We're going to take it from the right. We're going to inhale. And then exhale out to the left. And this feels awesome. Okay? And as you move from side to side, yes, you are moving forward. That's just how momentum works. And the point, again, is not to try to get this all the way. If it's here, it's here. That's where it's at. But the idea is to try to keep that 90-90. And it feels good, right? And this is what Jen likes to call flossing. So when we windshield wiper, that's also flossing. But then when we're in this type of motion, it's also windshield wipers. And one more time on each side. Cool. This feels excellent. Oh yeah. So there you go. We love 90-90s. We love windshield wipers. And those are awesome. We have warmed up our legs somewhat, okay? And now we're going to move into our stability drills. So mobility, again, is something that you can perform all the time. Whatever your accessibility is to these type of drills, utilize them as much as possible because they're only going to help you. People don't realize that, a lot of times you will hurt yourself because your body is not as warm as it could be, right? When you try to reach for something that's too high, or when you bend down and you're not bending your knees. Our mobility is what keeps us safe. And so it's so important to incorporate it whenever we can, okay? All right, so now we're working into stability. Now, again, you may not be as warmed up as you would like, and that's okay. But I am here to tell you that we want to work not just on mobility, but we want to work on stability. As we go up in levels, okay, of age, it's important to keep our stability. We're fighting against gravity always, right? But we're also fighting against, unfortunately, such conditions as osteoporosis, where we want to protect our muscles. We want to protect our joints at all costs, right? Not just so that we can continue with yoga, but any movement, right? Maybe you like to swim, maybe you like to go run. It's all relative and it's all important to keep mobility top of mind. I like this equation. Mobility plus stability equals longevity. And that can be whether that's your age, whether that's your, whatever movement practice you like. Um, it also means flexibility. So mobility plus stability equals flexibility. Flexibility is not the same as mobility, and a lot of people will tell you that, but they're different. You can have, well, let me put it this way, mobility is where it's at. Flexibility will come if you have more stability and mobility, okay? All right, so now we're gonna work on the stability part, which is gonna be definitely interesting. So again, only if you feel safe should you practice, okay, or at least attempt these. So what we're gonna do, it's all based on not using our hands, but we want to work up eventually to not needing, okay, and it's okay to use your hands every so often, right? But keep in mind, again, our wrists were not meant to weight bear so long or such heavy items, right? When we're in down dog, right, that can get wearisome. So that's why wrist rolls are cool. Our feet are used to all of the heavy lifting, right? But our wrists are not. So these stability drills are reliant on using our mobility. And again, I realize that this could be scary. So only try this if you feel safe. And maybe build like a little, fort around you of pillows and everything as you try this later on. But save this video, try it later, and then see how you feel, right? As you get stronger, it's going to be easy. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to start with what I would say is the more challenging version. So it's about being able to get up off the floor without using your hands, okay? And keep in mind, again, I know that some of us, all of us have different, issues going on. But when you are able to get up without your hands, that means that your body is moving quite efficiently. And we're all, again, looking for mobility and stability. But this is specifically about stability. So right now I'm in a cross-legged position. My weaker side, funny enough, is the left side. So I'm going to have and if you want to, you can follow along. I'm going to try it both ways, right? Because we want symmetry in our life. So the left foot is going to go underneath the right. What I'm going to do is actually stand up, okay, without using my hands. And again, if you don't have accessibility, just watch, obviously, but understand, depending on how much accessibility you have, this is a way to project how much longevity your bones literally have. Everything is working together, okay? And we want to keep our mobility as long as possible because we want independence, right? So what I'm going to do is you're going to be using the edge of your feet, okay? That's the important part. It's then up to your core. So you're going to tighten your inner thighs, okay? Then your bum. But the interesting part is people don't realize this is that I'm not going straight up. I'm going to be leaning over, okay? Because it's my bum, right? Our pelvis is the heaviest part of our body. And there's a reason for that. What female center of gravity is here. It's in our pelvis. So it's important that we give our pelvis all the help it can get. So what we're going to do is we're going to lean forward. We're on the edges of our feet, and then we're going to go up. But we're going up forward. We're not going up straight up. We're going up forward, okay? Without our hands. So if you're ready, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Cool, right? And you can't see my head, that's okay. So now, to come back down, I'm going to once again have my left foot on the bottom. And then it's the same thing. Look, I'm bending over. I'm hinging. And that's what I did in the beginning. I hinged. I didn't just come up. That's not possible. Gravity doesn't allow that. But when I set my leverage point, okay, my hips, this way, then my bum and all of this working together can actually make it happen. All right, so coming down is the same thing like I just did. I didn't go straight down. That's not possible. I have to, once again, almost like I'm sitting in a chair, right? I set my bum back and then I'm able to come down. So now we're gonna go to the other side so that you can see. This time, my right foot is gonna be on the bottom. And I'm only changing my side so that you can see the lean, okay? If I'm forward, you won't see it. But this time my right foot is on the bottom of the cross leg, and then my left foot is in the, let me get back some, on the top. And again, this is my easier side. So no hands, but watch what I do. The feet are on their edges automatically, and then I'm leaning forward. So here we go. You're following me? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. And here you go. So again, it's so important that you realize how strong your feet are. They're used to bearing weight, right? So here, I'll come back. It's the right foot behind, the left in the front. And then see how I hinge? It's automatic. Like I don't even try. It's just how our bodies work. I can't come straight down. I get to hinge, and then my bum acts as that little cushion, right? And then I'm able to come back down. Now again, you may say, that's freaking hard. No, it's not hard. Our bodies are able to do it. And it takes mobility. And so it's something to work up to. It's not something you might be able to, you were able to, let me put it this way. We were all able and did get up and down this way when we were toddlers, learning to crawl, learning to walk, all right? So our bodies know how to do this if we were able to. Over time, our bodies get lazy. Our head tells us, oh, they're shortcuts. And that's fine. But what that does is that it takes us out of our body, and then we don't use our body. So we're trying at every nook and cranny of our lives as we grow to realize how we moved as little toddlers is exactly how we always should be moving. Okay? All right, so then the last drill for stability is going to be the same thing. We're trying to get up, but we're going to be on our knees. So if you're not keen on the knees, you don't have to try this. But it's important, once again, to realize that you can use your hands, right? But what I want to emphasize is the fact that there may be times when maybe the hands are not the best choice, okay? So we're going to be on our knees. And again, you're not going to see my head, and that's okay. But I want to bring this in there just for ha-ha's sake, because again, a lot of people, we forget how much agility we really have. Okay, so if you're on your knees, all right, what you want to do, and actually I should be like this way. So once again, this is going to be easier if you actually have your feet tucked, and you can do it this way, and I'll do it both ways. But you're on your knees, okay? And then a lot of times people will say, okay, we're going to get up now. Well, if you're in a yoga flow, okay, you don't have to use your hands. You can, and there's, especially if you're tired, I would say use whatever you need. But you can also bring up and see how I use the foot in the back as leverage, okay? Coming down, same thing. So it's tucked and you're pushing off, but as you saw, it's a little unstable, okay? So that's why I do prefer when you come down, okay, be careful, that they're actually untucked. And it is actually harder this way, but it means that you're using your quad muscles, okay? Now, you can use them tucked, that's fine. That's perfectly okay. Either way is what I'm saying is useful, all right? The reason why I would prefer this is because then I am not relying on my toes, okay? I need to feel the whole flat part of my foot, okay? So here we go. So I'm going to use my right again. Let me do it the other way. So now I'm going to use my left, but they're flat, and they're going to stay flat. So this one, my left foot is coming up. My right foot is still not tucked, okay? It's flat. And I'm pushing, not with my hands, and you can push with your hands, right? But I'm pushing with my inner thighs coming in and my bum, okay? And it's me going forward. Always remember that. It's you going forward. You're hinging. So here we go. See how steady that was? Okay? And coming down, same thing. I'm not going to tuck my toe. Now, of course, I'm on carpet too, so it makes a difference. I would have extra padding if I didn't have the carpet. And again, getting up to your knees is not ideal to begin with, but it is something to consider. Now, again, you can put your hands on your knees. That's perfectly okay. But what we're trying to create here is more stability, right? We don't want to rely so much on pieces of our anatomy that theoretically shouldn't bear a lot of weight. Now you can say, well, yeah, but you can get into handstands, right? You can get into all kinds of inversions on your hands. Absolutely. But guess what? You're lifting, okay, the whole time. You're fighting against gravity, all right? But your body, anyone who's able to get in a headstand, that's awesome. But you will find them that they're literally the mula bandha, which is their life force here, right, is lifting. And so their pelvis is not bearing down, okay, on their body or their hands. They're literally feeling like a feather, quite literally. Now, it's amazing. And that's not in my repertoire yet, a handstand of any kind. But I do know that the reason why it's even possible is simply because, yes, there is a lot of weight bearing going on, but it's from the hands all the way up to those toes that you're fighting against gravity. We need to ensure that our wrists are not bearing more weight than they have to on a daily basis, right? And our feet, again, they're used to the weight bearing. They were meant for it. I just want everyone to realize, especially in yoga, we are so rough on our wrist, and we want to keep as much stability as possible because we want longevity, right? So with that, those were our drills for mobility and stability. So, a funny point is that when you can get up off the floor in that cross-legged position and not have to try, and if you have to try it more than once and, to get it, that's awesome. But the less time it takes you, right, the least tries it takes you, the more possibility that you are, I guess you could say, having a better time of keeping your body in such a state that you will create more longevity, right? Mobility is imperative for longevity. Okay, so we want to keep that in mind. Again, it's a goal, right? It doesn't have to be. It can be an aspirational goal, and don't think that just because you're going up in levels, i.e., age, that you're never going to get there and it's impossible. No, absolutely not. Again, flexibility can come, but it only happens with stability and mobility. Okay, your mobility can change all the time. All right, so that's why we're here. And with that, if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them after, but send me a note or two, and we're happy to see you next month for our next yoga, either clinic or flow. Thank you so much for being here, and look forward to seeing everyone next month. If you have any suggestions, what you like, then I'm happy to oblige. And hello, whoever Tobias is. And yeah, we will see you next month. It's always the last day of every month. And again, I might be coming more often, depending, but happy to be here. So with that, we made it out of here by 42 minutes after. I'm impressed. Thank you, everyone. Take care, take charge, and we'll see you next week. Or sorry, next month. Bye.